Welcome back to the channel, guys. We are back with another video. My name is Gordon. Are we on the cusp of altcoin season? We've been talking about it for months, but I really think with the latest rate cuts and more expected rate cuts as we move into Q4 of this year, the market is primed for a very strong move, and I think altcoins are going to benefit. As always, if you enjoy the content, please make sure to smash that thumbs up button below, hit that subscribe button. 70% of you are not subscribed to the channel. Make sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification icon. You've got a completely free gift in the description below this video. Grab that down below and let's talk about AltSeason. Like I said, guys, we just got rate cuts in the past week or so from the Federal Reserve, the first rate cuts of 2025, with more expected rate cuts coming over the next few months. And even though this video is about altcoin season, it really does all start with Bitcoin, and we need to understand how Bitcoin and Bitcoin dominance plays a role in how we might see altcoins significantly outperforming over the next few months. And in fact, we're already seeing that, as we will look at on a few of these charts. But Bitcoin price has been rallying since the end of August in anticipation of these rate cuts. More rate cuts expected at the end of November. I think we're going to see, the end of October. And I think we're going to see the market continue to price in those rate cuts over the next few weeks as we move towards the end of October. But the bigger picture here is, over the past couple of months, we have seen Bitcoin dominance breaking to the downside. This means we've seen Bitcoin and its share of total crypto market cap going from 66% all the way down to 57%. And I do think there's more room for us to continue moving lower here before we see altcoins reaching a peak. And if we zoom out here on the weekly chart, you'll notice that in the last cycle, we had a much larger breakdown of Bitcoin dominance. We had that initial breakdown here, you can see, in the first few weeks of 2021. And I kind of think the move we've made here over the past number of weeks is very similar to that first leg down for Bitcoin dominance. And then you can see an even more dramatic drop to the downside from end of February, March through to the end of May 2021. And so what I'm thinking is we have more room to move down here for Bitcoin dominance over the coming months, especially if we get more rate cuts. What you're looking at here is Bitcoin dominance sitting just under 58%. I'd be looking for us to move down here towards that 50% mark and bleeding even lower, going into the 40% area. Not quite down all the way to 40%, possibly, but I think somewhere between 45 and 50% is a very reasonable target for Bitcoin dominance to continue breaking down as altcoins continue to rip higher. I'm going to show you a couple of charts to illustrate that. But just before we do, we're also seeing global M2 continuing to increase to the upside. If we go back to the daily chart here, we overlay our global M2. If you're not sure what global M2 is, it is essentially a measure of all cash reserves across major economies, and Bitcoin is very correlated to global M2. You can see just how much we see increases in Bitcoin's price as global M2 continues higher. And over the past couple of weeks, again, we've seen global M2 putting in fresh highs and continuing to make moves to the upside. I think Bitcoin's price and obviously altcoins continuing to outperform is going to happen as we move in to Q4 2025. Next thing I want to look at is essentially total 3, which is a measure of total crypto market cap excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. And the interesting thing on this chart is we are right up testing levels that we were at back in 2021. The previous cycle highs got us right up to 1.14 trillion on this total 3 chart. And you can see we're primed here, getting ready to try and break out above this 1.14% level on total 3, which means we have more room to squeeze to the upside here. If we go back to when this happened during the last cycle, you can see that we had prices for total 3 moving up to retest the 2017 cycle highs. And after we broke above those 2017 cycle highs, total 3 went on to make another move about 256% higher, basically meaning we saw altcoins ripping for this period from February through until the end of 2021. Again, we are right at this moment here where we're seeing our total crypto market cap for total 3 pushing up on those previous highs. And even if we don't do anything close to 250%, even if we do half of this, that gets us into territory somewhere in the region of 2.5 trillion for total three, which would mean that total crypto market cap would get up to somewhere around $6.977 trillion, with Bitcoin being at 45% dominance and ETH getting up somewhere close to 18% dominance as well. The other key chart to note here is others.d. Others.d, very similar picture here that we're looking at in terms of what we're talking about in total three terms as well. Others dominance is basically telling us the dominance of everything in the outside of the top 10 in terms of percentage market cap. And what you're looking at here is we're currently sitting at 8%. I think what we need to see is others.dominance going all the way up to retest these highs at about 13%. We need to see us getting up somewhere around this 19 to 20% to get anywhere close to levels that we got to back at the 2021 cycle. And you can clearly see here, we haven't made that kind of parabolic move in the same manner that we did back here in Q1 and Q2 of 2021. And obviously that second leg up towards the end of the year, we didn't have, or we haven't had, a serious move to the upside like that just yet. And realistically, this 8.14% level is the same level we were at in January of 2021 before that huge move to the upside. So things are lining up, as you can see, compared to the previous cycle at levels that we have not seen for a long time. Things are looking primed. The other chart I want to show you is essentially others divided by Bitcoin. If we look at that on this chart, once again, it just shows you how much more room we have to go to the upside for altcoins versus Bitcoin. Again, back in 2017, we had a huge run up here with this price action making a huge move from these lows here. Again, if we're even just looking from March through to the peaks of that year, by the time we got into the very end of 2021, you're looking at an 838% move to the upside for others versus Bitcoin. And again, very similar pattern here in 2021 from these lows in December of 2020 all the way up to the peak here, a 472% move to the upside. We're looking at actually being right on this trend line at the very bottom, having gotten a bounce here in the past few weeks. I think we've got plenty of room to make a move to the upside on this chart. Are we going to get all the way up to this kind of 0.64% level? I don't think so, but you can clearly see we haven't made any kind of similar move to what we made in 2017 or 2021 respectively. And I think what we're going to see is that trend changing here. Again, if we draw a very crude, simple trend line here, we're looking at coming right up to try and retest this level. If we get a breakout, I think that gives us permission to move up in this manner. Final chart I want to look at is ETH divided by Bitcoin. Once again, ETH price divided by Bitcoin. This is a super important chart for altcoin season. As many of you know, if we do ETH USDT divided by Bitcoin US dollar, bring it up on TradingView here, what we've seen over the past couple months is substantial outperformance for Ethereum versus Bitcoin. We got a really nice bounce here by the middle of April. Technically speaking, Ethereum has outperformed Bitcoin by 111% over the past 154 days. We've broken out of this downtrend that has remained intact going all the way back to 2022. We're obviously taking a breather, consolidating, and coming down to have a retest of the trend, in my opinion, before we start moving higher. And yes, I do think we'll move up to the 0.06 area and eventually up to this kind of 0.09 area as well to try and retest those previous highs for Ethereum versus Bitcoin. So things are looking primed here, guys. Yes, we've had some very early signals of altcoin season, but most of these charts I'm looking at show us that we have not really had any kind of similar move for altcoins versus Bitcoin and versus the rest of the market compared to what we saw in 2017 and 2021 respectively. So things are looking primed. The macro situation is also looking good with rate cuts. What we typically see is more capital flowing into risk on assets. The S&P is continuing to move higher as well. There's a good argument to be made on the business cycle side of things with the ISM that we have not reached anywhere near a peak. Again, similar to what we saw here in 2021 and 2017 respectively. And so we need to see this coming up for the Purchasing Managers Index to really show us that the economy is getting overheated by the time we get up to this area. We haven't had that kind of parabolic move over the past couple of years since 2021. So I think we need to see all of that play out before we see a peak in the market and before we see a true altcoin rally happening. It will happen in tandem with the move up, and I want you to be prepared. I want you to capitalize on it and ultimately profit from it. That is it for today's video, guys. As always, if you got any value out of our altcoin season deep dive, please make sure to smash that thumbs up button below. Let's do it right now. Under my finger, there is a thumbs up button. Please smash it. It helps to spread the good word. It helps to grow the channel. I would really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification icon, and you've got your completely free copy of The Rise of Bitcoin in the description below this video. Grab that now, completely free, my gift to you, and we'll catch you in the next one.